Commander Jake Morrison had been stationed on the research outpost Horizon Station for 8 months now, and in all that time, he'd never seen his Zephyrian maid Anna display anything resembling surprise. The tall, graceful alien with her silvery skin and luminescent markings had always maintained the same composed demeanor, professional, efficient, and utterly unreadable. Anna belonged to a species renowned across the galaxy for their domestic services. The Zephyrians had built an entire civilization around the concept of perfect household management, and their contracts were sought after by every major species in the Galactic Federation. Their homeworld exported nothing but immaculate service, and Anna was considered among their finest, which made her current reaction all the more extraordinary. Jake looked up from his workstation to find Anna frozen in his doorway, her large, opalescent eyes wide with what he could only describe as shock. Her typically pristine uniform seemed to shimmer more intensely than usual, and her breathing had become rapid and shallow. "Anna? Everything all right?" Jake asked, pausing his work. She didn't respond. Her gaze remained fixed on his hands, specifically on what he was doing with them. Jake glanced down at his project, confused. He'd been working on it for weeks now. A small wooden box, roughly the size of his palm, carved from a piece of earth oak he'd brought with him to the station. The surface was covered in intricate patterns he'd been painstakingly etching with primitive hand tools. Nothing fancy, really. Just something to keep his hands busy during the long shifts. Is there a problem?" He pressed gently. Anna's voice, when it finally came, was barely a whisper. "You are creating?" "Well, yes. It's just a hobby. Woodworking helps me relax." Jake set down his carving tool, genuinely concerned now. "Anna, you look like you've seen a ghost. What's wrong?" The Zephyrian took a tentative step into the room, her movements uncharacteristically hesitant. "Commander Morrison, may I ask what purpose this object will serve?" Jake picked up the small box, turning it over in his hands. "Purpose? I suppose it doesn't really have one. It's just nice to make something with your hands, you know? My grandfather taught me when I was young, said there was something important about creating things, even if they weren't particularly useful." Anna's luminescent markings began pulsing, in patterns Jake had never seen before. "Not useful? Oh, I mean, it could hold things, I suppose. Trinkets, maybe. But that's not really why I'm making it." Jake traced one of the carved spirals with his finger. "There's something satisfying about taking raw material and shaping it into something that wasn't there before. Something beautiful, even if it serves no practical function." The alien maid moved closer, her eyes never leaving the carved box. "Your species, you create things for beauty alone?" "Sometimes, yes. Art, music, literature, crafts. We make lots of things just because we enjoy the process or find the result aesthetically pleasing." Jake tilted his head, studying Anna's reaction. "I take it your people don't do much of that?" Anna's silence stretched, long enough that Jake wondered if he'd offended her somehow. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight he'd never heard before. "Commander, Zephyrians are engineered for efficiency. We are bred, trained, and conditioned to serve. Every action we take, every thought we have, must serve a purpose. We clean because spaces must be clean. We organize because systems must function. We cook because bodies must be nourished." She gestured toward the box with a trembling hand. We cannot create for beauty alone." Jake felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Engineered? Our genetic template was modified generations ago. Creativity was deemed inefficient, a waste of resources and mental capacity better devoted to service." Anna's markings had dimmed considerably. "I have served in 43 households across 17 star systems, Commander. I have seen every possible form of technology, every conceivable luxury, every marvel of advanced civilization." She paused, her voice growing even quieter. "But I have never seen anyone create something beautiful simply because they chose to. I have never seen anyone find joy in the act of making rather than the utility of having made." Jake set the box down carefully on his workstation. Anna, that's terrible. I'm so sorry. Do not apologize, Commander. It is simply what we are. But her eyes remained fixed on the carved wood. May I touch it? Of course. Anna approached with reverence, as if the small box were a sacred artifact. Her long, delicate fingers traced the patterns Jake had carved, following each curve and spiral with obvious wonder. When she looked up at him, her eyes held something he'd never expected to see from a Zephyrian: longing. What does it feel like? She asked. To create something that serves no master, fills no requirement, satisfies no demand except your own desire to make it exist? Jake considered the question seriously. It feels free, I suppose. Like for a little while I'm not Commander Morrison with duties and responsibilities. I'm just someone making something that pleases me. It's meditative, peaceful. Sometimes I lose track of time completely. Anna's markings brightened suddenly, pulsing in rapid, complex patterns. Commander, I must confess something. Sometimes when I clean your quarters, I rearrange items in ways that are not maximally efficient. I place them in patterns that please me. I do not know why I do this. It serves no purpose. Jake smiled, understanding dawning. Anna, I think what you're describing is an aesthetic sense, a desire for beauty. But that is impossible. We cannot. Maybe your people were wrong, Jake interrupted gently. Maybe creativity can't be completely engineered out of a species. Maybe it finds a way to survive even in small ways. Anna stared at him, then at the box, then back at him. Would you teach me to create something beautiful with no purpose? Jake picked up a spare piece of wood and a simple carving tool. I'd be honored to, Anna. After all, everyone deserves the chance to make something just because they want it to exist. As Anna took the tools in her trembling hands, Jake realized he was witnessing something extraordinary. Not just an alien learning to carve, but a soul discovering its own capacity for wonder. And in that moment, he understood why humanity had earned its place among the stars. Not because they were stronger or smarter or more advanced than other species, but because they had never forgotten the simple, profound importance of creating beauty for its own sake. The lesson that followed would change both their lives forever.